I need for me to get the circumference of a circle? I need to know the radius of the circle. Now, why don't I need 2? Because 2 is part of the formula that we use to calculate it. Normally, this portion here is assumed that these are the things in which I don't know the value in which they have. I don't have that value. Hence, I need to seek that value from an external source. We all know what 2 is. So there's no need you have to ask somebody to enter what? 2. Doesn't make sense. We all know what pi is. It's a constant to never change. Even if we die and come back, and die again and come back, it will still be the value that is there. So there is no need for the user for that piece of what? Information. But for the radius, the value of the radius will change during the lifespan of the program. Today, the radius can be A, the next day, the radius can be B, or the next day, the radius can be what? C. And because we do not know what the value of the radius is, we need to ask for it. How am I going, at the end of the day, get my circumference of a circle? So what processes do I need to do to get my answer? I only have to do 2 times this times what? The radius. Now I have to write my code. So how will I write my code? First of all, the program will start. The next thing I have to do is ask the person or read or input or ask or input or get. Any of these words can be used. The radius. Now, it is here that you, as a programmer, need to understand. When we say get or ask or input a particular variable, we are doing 2 things. We must ask and what? Receive. So in the documentation of a program, if you get a documentation file, they'll just write this, ask or get radius. But you, the developer, need to know that, oh, for this, I need to find a way to express a want and then receive the value I'm looking for. From there, since I have radius, I can calculate for what? Circumference. Why is it that I do not calculate the circumference over here? Why? Because at this stage of my program, that is at this stage of my program, I do not know what radius is for me to even go and use radius to calculate anything. So the only way I can calculate for radius is by knowing the value of what? Radius. So it means if I write my code here, it is wrong. Logically, doesn't make sense. So it has to be over here. And it is after this that I can display the radius, or sorry, display the circumference to the user. Why don't I display circumference over here? Because at this stage, I haven't even calculated it to know what the value of circumference is. So it means it has to be here. Then after this, my program will work. Stop. It is very important that we understand some few things. One, everything is line by line. Every program, every line you write has meaning to what you are doing. So everything you are doing, it is a line after a line after a line. People who start learning programming start to try and do everything at once. If you do that, you will fail because it is a line. What do I have to do first? Do that. After that, where does it take me to? Do that. After that, where does it take me to? do that. And by the end of the day, you would have written an entire program because you followed the line after line after line. Is that clear? Now, I have to write this thing here inside my editor. The editor in which I'm going to use is IntelliJ, so I'll open the IntelliJ. So over here, I've opened my IntelliJ. Great, I'm here. How do I start a new program? I'll go to File, go to New, and then go to what? Project. In there, I'll give the project its name. In my terms, I'm going to call it Circumference. It is very proper that project names start with a word, capital letter. As much as possible, make it one word. Are we okay? I'm writing the program in Java. I'm using IntelliJ, and this is my SDK. Then I click on what? Create. Do I want to create it in this window? Yes. In doing so, my entire program has started. Inside my SRC folder, I will see what? Main. I'll open that. All your code has to be inside the main method. Here I have the main what? Class. How do I know that this main here is method? This main at the top here is what? Class. Everything which is a class will automatically start with a capital letter. So here I have a main what? Class. Here I have a main what? Method. And a method, as you can see, always goes with what? Parentheses. A class never goes with what? Parentheses. In here is where all my code is going to be. So in here, all my code is going to be here. What I have just done is called a comment. So you leave comments in your code for documentation purposes and for maintenance purposes. It is very important for you to note that the things we do in class here, very soon, because you are the master's level, you would have to be doing a large amount of code writing, but not that much, let's be honest. But in a professional setting, you're writing 50,000 lines of code, 20,000 lines of code, 70,000 lines of code. You will forget what you have written. You wrote it all, but you will forget. Do not be deceived. Do not think there's some. Well, normally, whenever you see people code, you say, this guy, he has chewed all the code in his head. He has not. He goes through the same process of, what do I have to do next? He does it, and then he continues to work, move on. So if you're at line 15,000, and you have to go back to line 150, you forget why the 150 is there. You forget. So we leave comments in our code for us to tell us what we're doing at that line. Does that make sense? Another thing too is that you will not work in your organization forever. The standard working frame in an organization is 6 years. After 6 years, you probably move on. It's rare, the person works 30 years. No. So when you go and someone else comes to pick your code, the comments in them will allow the person to understand your code and help him or her to do the maintenance which is needed in the code. So comments are important. So over here, I have a single line comment. And here, I'm going to create my variables. Now, it is important that you understand some very fine principles. Variables you would use in your code are at the top. There's a reason why they are at the top. They are at the top because when you need to make changes to them, you prefer to make those changes at a singular place. Let me rephrase that. You see, the whole one thing when you see people starting to code, you realize that they will repeat code over and over again. The proper programmer never repeats code. You would want a scenario whereby if you have to do something, you do it at one place and one place alone. So that if there is a change to be made, you can make it at just that one place and it will take effect at all the other places. If there are multiple instances of your code written and you have to make a change, it means you have to remember all the multiple instances that the code is what? There. And remember, if you have 50,000 lines, making a change of that nature becomes difficult quick. So in your mind, you like, oh, but say it's only 20, if I have to make a change, I can just go and change the name Kofi to Ama, Kofi to Ama, Kofi to Ama, and I'm done. But if you have 50,000 lines, making that change becomes very difficult. And remember, we will start to weave in whereby we keep code here, we keep code here, we hide code here, and all of those things. If you are doing that, making those changes are very difficult. So you want the scenario whereby all your functions are at one place, all your variables are at one place, all your code is at one place, all your, do you understand that? So if you have a change to make, you know where exactly you are going to do that change. So it is easy enough for you to be creating variables in your code, but it is not the proper way. It is not the professional way. Am I making sense? So creating them in the code is not wrong, but it is not the professional way to do that. Back here, I'm creating variables. How many variables do I have to create here? First, I have to create the variable for circumference, right? So over here, based on the documentation in which I did, or the small documentation I did here, I need a variable for radius, and then I need another variable for what? Circumference. So I need variables for these two things here. Good. Now, the question here is this, and this is the question. What data type should the variable circumference be? And what data type should the variable radius be? They both should be decimals because of what would be the inputs that are coming in. So here would be a double, and here will also be a what? A double. Remember, every statement ends with a what? Semicolon. So you see, it's not just I create a variable. I must also think of the data type and how it affects the inputs and outputs in which I'll be getting. Now, I would be asking the user to enter information. So here I'm going to create the object of the scanner class. This word here is a class. If for nothing, you know it starts with a start F, so you know it's a what? A class. I can't use a class. A class, in our example, is student. So a student will have an ID, a name, a date of birth, an index number, and so on and so forth, right? If I want a student who I can teach, who I can give grace to, that student is you. Because you have an index number. You have a name. You have a date of birth. Are you following me? So if I say student, I'm talking about a class. I can't use student. So from the class students, I have to create an object that I can use. And by creating the object, I give it all the values of the class. In your case, ID, I'll give it an ID. Name, I'll give it a name. Date of birth, I'll give it a date of birth. Department, I'll give it a department. Once I have given all the values to my class students, at that point in time, I have an actual word, student. So you are a student because you have an index number, a name, a date of birth, a department, and so on and so forth. That's what makes you a what? Student. But you individually, if I want to call you, I'll say index number 22224. Then you what? Come. So I cannot use the rules, but I can create an object. And when I want to use, I would use the object what? Con. And con will have all the properties of the class scanner. The same way when I call you as a student, you have all the properties of a student. Now, in my speech, I said that the rules, we give it the rules. That is, for you to be a student, you must have an ID. So if you meet anybody working here and say, what's your ID? And the person says, I don't have an ID, that means that person is not a what? A student. So by me typing this new scanner into brackets, system.in, I am telling the computer that create for me a student. The student's name is going to be Con, and give Con all the properties that belong to what? Student. Exactly. So if I want to use it, I don't go and use scanner because it is the rules. I use what? Con. And when I bring a dot here, you realize that all the rules that govern it show for me. All the things I can do with the student, teach him, give him grades. He goes on a vacation, comes back, defends the course. All of those things, I can now do them with you because I have given you the rules in which you can use to do whatever you want. So in this case here, I have created something that I can use to go and take input from any screen that is console. So over here, I have system.in.out. And by the way, the system being a capital S means it is also a what? A class. Dot what? Print. And in here, I'm going to put in a string that says, please enter radius. Semicolon space. Now, logically, I'm telling the person to enter radius. So what will the person do? He will enter the radius. So con dot next double here is going to go and take the inputs that the person has entered. But it will make sure that that input is of data type double. And why is that important? Because over here, we said the data type of radio should be what? Double. So if the value that is being collected is not double, and you are giving it to a double, it's a red flag. Now, this piece of code here is going to the screen to collect what the person has what entered. I have collected it. Where do I put it? I have collected it. Fine. Where do I put it? I should put it in what? Radius. So this statement here is saying, collect what the person has inputted on the screen and go and input it in what? Radius. Back here. At this stage of my program, I can now say circumference is equal to 2 times 3.142 times the radius. And since I have the answer for the radius, it's at this point in time in my program, I can say system.out.print circumference is, and then I'll use the concatenation tool to add what? The value of what? Radius. So now, if I click here, my program starts. I have no errors. Hallelujah. I type in the radius of the thing, and I click enter. Tells me my circumference is this, which is wrong, because here I'm supposed to put in the word circumference here instead of what? Radius. Let me rerun it again. Great. Over here I have 1, 2, 1. And then it tells me my circumference is what? This. Ta-da. That's all. Now, I can be smart and say plus here. Now do this and say CM. Let me give a small space here. So now, when I enter 121 here, it tell me this in what? Centimeter. Careful placement of the thing, careful positioning would give more meaning to what you are doing. Exactly. Anyway, are there any questions? I'm listening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you are saying that if first of all, you're saying, is there a scenario whereby the input you'll be entering is of multiple data types down around? So that scenario will never happen. For example, the scenario you are talking about is this scenario. So over here, I have this, right? So I take 2 times, oh, this one to count. Let's see. So let's see, the person will type 2 times 8 and press enter. Then it will show him that 2 times 8 is what? Let's see, it's 56, right? So the input is 2 times 8. Then it will give him the calculation of that. Okay. Now, that scenario will never happen because the 2 times 8 is of what data type? String. So you would accept the data in as a string. Then you will now break it down into integers or decimals or whatever. So the scenario you are painting, whereby because it is int and double and whatever, you would find a way to be accepting them differently. It doesn't happen. You would accept them in one data type. Then that data type, it is upon you now to break it down. For example, if you have a string, it means technically it is in the form of an array. So it means after that, you will now have to break down the array to look for the operators and then break them down. You understand? So the scenario whereby you have to be accepting multiple data types as input will never happen. You always accept them in as a string or something else. That's what I'm saying. That it means that here you have to accept the input in as a string. Once you accept it in as a string, then you have to write code to now, in other words, it's called splitting. So you would split it. Like if I enter this, you see that the operator here is what I'll be splitting with. So this operator, you see that choose everything before the times, everything before this one, everything before this one. Something like that. But that scenario, you haven't gotten there yet. If you start that one, people will stop your course very quickly. Hey, what are we doing? So we'll get there soon, but not now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, you never leave anything to chance. So you are expecting a value that someone will enter in, right? You must know the value. You should never use that statement of I don't know what value should enter in. From the programmer's point of view, that statement should never be a statement you make. So for example, over here, I know that the value that the user should enter is supposed to be what? A double or a numerical value. You always have somebody who come and type this one. And then you press enter. And then you get an error over here. So you can handle this in 3 ways. One, you can accept the values in as a string. And then check using if statements if that value is of an integer type. Then if it is not, you tell the person, oh, sorry, you haven't entered an integer type, so please enter another value, that kind of a thing. You can use the try and catch method, whereby you try to accept the value, and if it is a wrong value, the catch will accept the errors. So the catch would accept this place here and tell the person that she has entered an incorrect value. Okay? Now, again, we have not gotten there. So relax. Those of you are wondering, hey, what did you talking about? Relax. But over here, there is something called try. So you try this, and then you would catch. Let's say E here. You would catch an exception over here. So all of this code here would come in here. And then if there is any exception, you put it over here. So that if there's any error or the person didn't enter the right value or any of those things, the catch would show them the error message. But again, we haven't got it. So in this scenario, we are assuming that the person you are dealing with is holy, which is not true. But back to his question, you, the programmer, that statement of I don't know what type of data to accept should never come from you. You should know. Then, based on what you know, you control the person to fall into that realm. So that's why you're filling a form online. You realize they'll say enter your first name. Then someone will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you press it, tell you, oh, here we only accept alphabetical values. Because they know that here is not, they're not supposed to accept numerical values. Of course, the name the person will type, you don't know. So if someone types a fake name or a wrong name, you don't have control over that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Double means decimals. Floating numbers also means decimals. And then integer means integers. That is 1, 2, 3, no whole numbers. Okay. And then strings are for anything on your keyboard that is joined together. So all the values, including space. That's why I said anything on your keyboard that is joined together. So technically, every time we do this here, what we've done here is a string. So the computer is seeing everything there as what? One. The way you typed it. Are we okay? And then characters too are single values. So if I want to do, let's see, A, this here is a character. Consider for that I use the single quote. But for the string, I'll use the what? The double quote. So I don't know if the question is, if you are the one writing the program, which data type should you use for what variable? That one, you have to determine, okay, since I'm dealing with money, I'll use a double. If I am using a month of day, like Monday, let's say 21st, 24th, 25th. 21st, 24th, they are not decimals. So I'll use a what? Integer. It is you who will determine that information based on the rules which are there. Exactly. Oh yeah, it's in the notes I gave you. I have not opened the notes, but in the notes somewhere it is there. Have you opened the notes? You have not opened the notes. Hey, my students, hey, students will kill you. Students, we did, because in the notes that are in your classroom, I know that somewhere very here, you have operators, and then here is the end of operators. So where is lecture 2? In lecture 2 somewhere, where this is lecture 2. So in here you have types, which tells you integer, boolean, this is an integer, this is how it is stored, an example of it, and so on and so forth. It's all there. Yeah, sir. But me, I know the students will not go and watch. Yeah, sir. Oh, me, I don't know. You see, students. It is so. In the notes that are on your WhatsApp, they are there. Mm. Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful question. So when you click on the button here to run, certain things happen. One of the first things which happens is all white space is removed. So all the space you see here, they are removed. Exactly. That's the first thing that will happen. So I can do this. It makes no difference because that space is removed. I can do this, whereby I'll do this. And then this one will be here. And then this one will be over here somewhere. You get one right. It doesn't. Once you click on that button, all of the spaces will be removed. so that the only thing which is showing a difference between one and the other is the semicolon. That's why if the semicolon is not there, it's a very, very, very big problem. Exactly. So that process is something called tokenization, whereby all the spaces will be removed. Then it would write the code in a way in which the machine can understand. But in writing that tree, it uses the semicolon to write that one tree. So if there is a semicolon somewhere, you don't bring it, there's a problem. Number two, you are a professional person, which means the spacing, the indentation, they matter. Because this one, it tells me that everything here is under this one. And everything here is under what? This one. So you can see I give a indentation here and then the code is what there. Do not type it anyhow. You understand? The indentation matters. But in terms of it running, the white space plays role. Exactly. Any other questions? The people we have online, are there any questions? The online people, are you there?
Yes, sir, we are there.
Okay. Pardon? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oh no, you put in the formula. The joy about programming is the formula. The truth of the matter is that in this world everything is math. That is the truth. That is why whenever you're on social media and you see those stupid people who the math we learned it, we didn't use it to do anything. Those people, you realize that's why Africa is poor. You realize immediately that that's why Africa is poor. That's why a lot of people go into business and the business fail quickly because they don't even know what their break point is. They don't know how much goods do I have to sell every month at minimum for me to maintain my business. They don't know because they don't know how to do, for example, they don't know how to do a simple, basic, let's say, what is the cost price of doing your business, right? So let's say every month you do advertisement of this, buying the let's say you sell computers. So buying the computers for each machine you buy, let's say it's 2,000 per machine, right? So then this one is for advertising. Then delivery fees in which you pay per device is, let's say, 100 per device, right? The lighting and then the warehouse and everything. So let's say it is this one. Then the selling price. How much do you sell a unit computer? Oh, I sell it for, let's say, 5,000 Ghana cedis per computer, right? So for me to maintain my business, it is the cost price being equal to the selling price, right? So it means this equation which I have over here being equal to this equation over here is me having my what? My balance. So it means that if I want to maintain my business, this is the balance rate in which I should be selling or something. People don't know. So he just buy the good for, put it on social media, put it there. This week he sells 5, say Radebe Dawasi. Next week he sells 10 Radebe Dawasi. But probably the Radebe Dawasi should be 7. So if you sell 7 a day or 7 in a week, then you know that your business is being what? Maintained. The honest truth is life is maths. Everything from speech patterns to recognition to everything can be broken down into maths. So the coding language, you would put in the formula that will do all of that. That one. But the key is this. You do not have to know math to do coding. So those of you who say math is everything, then your mind will be math relax. The formulas are there. So you just have to put in the values and manipulate it to get what you want. Is that clear? Anyway. Oh, I'm listening. Oh, you want to see it? Okay. Oh, okay. So over here in this line here, because in here, this line here is seeing everything as strength. The plus there is not addition. The plus there is joining. So if I run this program, say my circumference over here is 100. This statement here says this: display what you see here. Exactly. So it displays radius, circumference, space, is space. So this section here is what is here. Are we clear? Then join to it the content of the variable circumference. The content of the variable circumference is what? 628.4. So it has done that. Join to it space cm. So it is joining space and what? Cm. So in my mind, I have a picture of how I want the display to be. Even the space that has to be there, in my mind, I know at this point I need space. Because the moment I don't bring space here, it means that when I run this and I type 100 again, I'm going to have centimeter what? It joined to the 4. And some people may not like that. So if I give a space, then I can bring the centimeter there. Or some cases, especially when you're dealing with money, you would want the CD. For example, over here, if I want to say GHC, so over here, if I run it, if I put 100 here, have GHC that. Do they want a space after the C, or do they want it to be joined together? You control everything which appears on the screen. Is that okay? All right. Should I give you a few minutes to type this, or we should go to the next question? I think this is easy enough. So let's go to the next question. Can someone please read the next question for me?
Yes, sir. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Write a program that accepts 3 numbers. Multiply the first and the third numbers and divide the results by the third number. The output for the program should be as follows. The first number is in column. The second number is column. The third number is column. The product of the first and the third number is column. The final answer is the column.
Okay. Thank you very much. Who doesn't understand the question that is there? Do we all understand the question that is there? Good. So we are writing a program that accepts 3 numbers. So let's start with that statement. I would use this one, okay? So I'll delete the code that is here. But what I'll do is I will copy this and then I'll put it in Notepad so that after the class, I can send it to you, Exactly. So over here, I'll just remove the code I have in here. So let me just remove this section here, and then let me remove this section here. By the way, the scanner class, when I created it here, the import scanner over here was added. In your code, you must add it, or it will not work. Is that clear? So here, I have to accept 3 numbers, right? The numbers, they didn't give me if it were decimals or whole numbers, so I'll just assume they are normal integer numbers. Are we okay? So I have int. Sorry. So here I have int, first, comma, second, comma, third, and they are all and I end with terminate. Now you can see that the first one, I made each one on one line. If they are on one line, they end with terminate. But I can do multiple on one line. But for each one, they are separated with a what? A comma. Is that okay? Good. So here I have all my variables. The program said we should ask the person for 3 numbers. So system dot out dot print ls dot print enter number 1. Are we okay? Now, if I've asked for number 1, then it means I must accept number 1, which goes into con.next what? Int. I highlight, I go to the next and the next. Here I'll say number 2, here will be number what? 3. Over here, the word here would be second. And over here, the word here would be what? Third. So I have accepted 3 different what? Numbers. Are we okay? Good. Let me go back to my thing here. And it said, multiply the first and the third number and divide the result by the third what number. Are we okay? Great. So over here, it said that at the top here, I would create a integer multiply. Let me say multi. Then here, I'll create a double divide. Good. So here again, I have mul is equal to the first number times the third number. And then divide the result of the multiplication, right, over the third number. Okay, let's come back to the question. The question says, the program should output as follows, which means the program has told us how it wants us to display the resulting answer. And the display should be all of these things here, like this. Are we okay? So all I'll do is I'll copy it, since I have it there. And then over here, all I need to add is the system.out.what? Print for all of them. Ima, we had a side. Okay. So here we have this. I have this, and this. Okay. And then See how this is the first number. So here I'll bring this here, bring the join and add what? First. Then I can close it. Good. For the second number, I'll add space here that. Are we okay? Note, if I don't bring the space, it will be glued to the semicolon. That's why I bring the what? The space. Here, then I'll bring my plus, second. Over here again, I'll have this plus third. Over here again, I'll have this plus mole. Wow. That's what I called it, right? Mole. Good. So the product of the first and third number, that is when I multiply the first and third number, I put the result of that into a variable called what? Mole. So that's what I'm showing you. Then over here, I have the final answer being equal to what? Plus divide. Great. So now, if I run my program, it will ask me, what is the first number I want? The first number I want is this. The second number is this. And the third number is what? That. Hence, the first number is this. The second number is this. The third number is this. And then the product of the first and the third number will give me this. When I divide it to give me what? That. That's what they want me to do. Exactly. Are there any questions? Let us all type this in our computer and see if we'll get the same result. Note that I did not come within my code. Here, I didn't come and do double divide is equal to this. Did you realize that? I make sure that all my declarations are at the what? Top. So if I have to manipulate, I'll just go to the top and manipulate it there, and then it will take effect with the rest. Are we okay? Let's type them in and see if we'll get the same result. Yeah. Mm. Yes, myself. The moment you are doing anything which is division, you already know that you may get decimal numbers. So you should use a double for that. The multiplier over there, because I said I am multiplying integers. If I multiply integers, there's no way in which I will get a decimal. So the multiplier could be 8. Some of you wrote the numbers to be doubles, which means that the user can input a decimal. That means the multiplier for you should be a what? Decimal, because decimal, you may get a decimal. Yes. And please, I didn't think I'll have to be telling you people this, but the notes I gave you, query them. I didn't think I have to, didn't even occur to me, but they are all inside. I just that if you have to read the notes and then do the practical work to be cumbersome. So what I do is I try to explain the points as we go along for it, but the written aspects of it are yeah. The third question is here. So for this one too, I'm going to copy the code we have here, and then I will put it in the notepad here under the question. Are we okay? So the third one too is here, whereby we have, what do we have? Okay, the third one is, okay. Okay. So write a program that converts pounds into kilograms, and the program prompts the user to enter the number of pounds, converts it into kilograms, and displays the result. We should know that 1 pound is 0.454 kilograms. The program's output should be as follows. Are we okay? So, back here again, it's obvious that the variables we need is pounds and kilograms, right? So I'll just copy this one here. I don't need all of this. Are we okay? And then I don't need all of this. Good. So double pounds, comma, kilograms. Are we okay? Now here, the program told us that they want us to enter the pounds, then you calculate for the what? Kilograms. So system.out.print ln into brackets that enter the weight in what? Pounds. And of course, the user is going to enter the weight in pounds is equal to code dot next double. Are we okay? Are we okay? Good. Now, over here, we're going to say that kilograms is equal to pounds times 0.454. Wonderful. Therefore, we can now display our answer. They said that for our answer, we have to display it for it to look like what? This. Are we okay? So they want it like this. So over here, I'm going to say system.out.print. Over here, I want it to be ln. ln. And then I want to display this. And then over here, we have system.out.print. And then here I have this. And then here I have that. The weight in pounds is this. But here I'll bring plus and I'll bring what here? Pounds. And here I'll bring this. That's plus what? Kilograms. Wonderful. So now if I have 150 pounds of meat, it would give me 68.1 kilograms of what? Meat. And it would display like how you want it to what? Display. Are we okay? So, yeah, basically like that. So all the questions we've done, or I gave you, they fall within this format of solution. We'll ask for information, process it, display. Ask for information, process it, what? Display. In life, it is unfortunate, but life is not like this. In life, we don't move through our daily life in one line. Are we okay? We don't move in our daily life in one line. When you wake up in the morning, you have a decision to make. Do I, as a human being, brush my teeth, or I don't? Do I bath? Or the weather is cold, so I don't bath? Do I wear yesterday's clothes? Or, Charlie, it's smelling too much, I change the clothes. We have decisions we make. Do I eat wachi or kuku? Do I take a car or I take Uber? Do I come to class or I do it online? We have choices we make. We have decisions we make. And because programming is a mimic of daily life, also in programming, there are decisions in which we what? We make. In which we what? Make. And what are these decisions? These decisions allow us to make choices based on particular conditions. For example, if it rains, I will stay home. In that statement, what is the most important aspect of that statement? If it rains. Because everything will be done based on that word, premise. So with the decision in programming, we are looking at if a condition is met, then there is an action we are going to what? Perform. In practice, we write it like this: if into brackets, condition, curly brackets, then in here, we put in the word action. Let us talk about the condition. The condition here should be evaluated to give you true or false. The condition here is a logical expression. 1 + 1 is an arithmetic expression. It will not give you true or false. A logical expression, its answer will always be true or what? False. Always. For example, is 2 bigger than 4? What will you say? False. Is this true or false? Is this true or false? It's false. True or false? Yo. This will give you what?
False.
The number of people who said this one, it has reduced to, and everybody said true. False. Yeah, right now, the number of people who are talking have reduced. So, again, in your notes, it is there. You can read your notes. But the logical expressions use the relational operator. The relational operators are as follows. We have the greater than, less than, greater than or equal to. Are we okay? Less than or equal to. Sorry. Less than or equal to. The equal to, the mathematical equal to. If it is 1 equal to, then it is a what operator? An assignment operator, right? But if it's a 2, then it is the what? Relational operator. That is, I and you are the same. Are we okay? We have the not. So if something is true and you bring not there to turn it into what? False. If something is false and you bring not there to turn it into what? True. We have the not equal to. Are we okay? And these operators are what we use to evaluate logical what? Expressions. Because at the end of the day, the answer there should be true or what? False. You cannot compare more than 2 things. It's impossible. When we're saying, my father has money more than you and you and you, your father. That English is bad. If I want to compare more than 2 things, then I have to use a logical operator to help me. The logical operators are the logical end and the logical what? Or. In programming, we'll say the double ends and the double what? Pipes. Now, in this thing here, we have seen it before. But if I go and mention right now, where have you seen this thing? People say, reality, so it's okay. I will show you what they are. So over here on my screen, I have an Excel file here. Are we okay? I have an Excel file here. Let me make it bigger. I have the X here, I have Y here. I have X and Y here. And then over here, I have X or what? Y here. Are we okay? In here, I have 0, 0, 1, 1. And then in here, I have 0, 1, 0, 1. If you have negative here and negative here, over here, if it's an end, it's supposed to be what? Nege. Hey. Negative. Over here, if it is an end, then here is also going to be negative, and here is going to be negative, but here is going to be what? Positive. If it is this one, here will be negative, here will be positive, here will be positive, and here will be what? Positive. You have done this. Whatever career you have done in your life, you have done this before. This one, from primary school, and you defend the primary school, from primary school to JSS to first degree, you would have done this one. Somewhere. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, we are saying here that if you have an expression, and the expression is a negative expression, and the other expression is a negative expression, both of them combined would give me a negative expression if there's an n. If it is an or, it will also give me a negative what? Expression. Okay. If one expression is negative and one expression is positive, if it is an and, I need both of them to be true for it to be what? True. But if it's an and, it will give me what? Negative. If it is an or, I only need one of them to be true. So it is either you or you. Are we okay? One of them has to be true. So you can see that with the ors, the moment one of them is true, everything is what? True. But with the end, both of them have to be true before it is what? True. And we will use these expressions here to create multiple combinations of expressions. For example, if I want to check if a number is between, oh, sorry, this has to be there. If a number is between 0 and 100, are we okay? So if that number is greater than 0, and at the same time, that number is less than what? 100. So me saying if you fall between 1 and 0, this is how I would what? Write it. Why? Because if here is true and here is true, then everything is going to be what? True. So for example, if the number is 101, 101 is bigger than 0, so it is true, right? But 101 is not smaller than what? 100. Are we okay? So that number is false. So both of them is going to give me what? False. Because it's an and, both of them have to be what? True. But whatever happens, your evaluation of your statement, the condition should give you a true or what? False. That means that you have to think of a scenario whereby you manipulate the numbers enough for them to give you true or what? False. Now, if it is true, then you would enter what? Here. And go and do the actions that are there. If it is false, you can either do nothing in this scenario, or you can tell the computer that else do what? This. So if it is true, enter here. But if it is false, you are going to enter what? Here. Are we okay? Let's look at an example of this programming language, or one example, because we are just introducing it. The next week we'll come and dive deeper into it. We are writing a program to determine if a number is an even number or an odd number. What makes a number an even number? Yes. So right now, you are doing masters. If your children or your nephews or something come to you and say, "Oh, uncle, are you doing masters? What makes a number an even number?" Apart from you telling them, "Get away from there," what will you tell the small girl? If the number is divisible by 2. This will give me what? Is 25 an even number? According to you, said if a number is divisible by 2, 25 is divisible by 2, or so it means whatever you told me is wrong. Is it wrong? So what makes something an even number? If that English there, without a remainder, doesn't come, it is wrong. That means that not only must 2 divide you, but it must divide you, and there should be no what? Remainder. It must. How do we determine remainder? Nope. What is the
Mode.
mathematical? Yes, the mode. Very good. So the mode is what we use to determine remainder. So for example, if I say 25 mode what? 2. 25 mode 2. The answer for this is what? 1. The answer for this is what? 1. So if we divide 25, the answer that, so for those of you who are not that mathematically inclined, it means that if I divide this one, the closest I'll get is 24. So 24 minus what? 25. The answer, the remainder is what? 1. So here it is what? 1. What is the symbol for mode? The symbol for mode is the percentage sign. So in programming, if I write 25 percentage 2, I'm saying 25 would what? 2. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now we are saying that 25 mode 2 should be equal to what? 0. How are we getting? So if I write this statement here, if 25, or let me rephrase it. If into bracket 25 mode 2 is equal to 0, else come here. Here I'll put here 100. 100. Here I'll put here 200. Which one will be it go to? Will it go to 100 or 200? Let's take a poll, one after the other. To you, in this question I have here, if 25 mode 2 is equal to 0, will it go to 100 or 200? Okay. Yes, also. 100 or 200 per you. Is what? 1. Okay. Is 1 equal to 0? So if this will give me 1, and we are saying 1 equals, will give me 1, right? Oh, sorry. All of that will give me what? 1. Is 1 equals to 0? So it means all of this will give me what? Very good. So if it is false, where will it go? Where will it go? Else. So what will it show? Are we clear? We should not make life more difficult than it has to be. Are we clear? Now, the problem here is the 25, I put it there. But if I change this 25 into n, where n is any number, now I can check if the number is even or odd. So if I replace n, if I tell you n is 10, 10 mode 2 is 0. Is 0 equal to 0? Yes. So if you show me what? 100. Are we clear? So with this in mind, or with this picture I've just drawn to you in mind, let's come back here. So here, instead of me say enter with, I'll say enter number. Are we okay? And then over here, I'll just say int number. So that over here, I'll say number over here. And of course, it's underlined because number has integer. So here should be what? Int. Good. So if, into brackets, the number modulo 2 equals to 0, Then I should say system dot out dot print ln even number. Else, I should tell the person he has a odd number. Run. Give me a number. 6, 60. Even number. Run again. 61. Odd number. Not that difficult, is it? I'll put some questions in your group for you to try during the week. All of them have to do with the if statement. As much as possible, try them. I'm not saying get them correct or wrong or whatever. Try them. And then if you can send it to me, I can have a look at it to see where we are. I mean, the time for the class is too short. So if we can expand the time by these means, it is best. Another thing too is programming is about repetition. And when you repeat, you would have errors. So much so that when you correct those errors, you tend not to make those same errors again. And then you realize that when you look at a student's work, you realize that you can say, oh, what I am doing or what I have been done, you get an error because you are doing this. How do you know that the person will get an error? Because you yourself, you got that error what? Before. So if you are not trying, you don't do. Now I'll tell you. It is always, whenever you're teaching classes, you realize that people always like, when you have a challenge, you work, but you realize that you, the individual, your programming skills will never go. The other person's skills will grow because you have different views to watch. Right. Take it line by line. As we are going forward, the questions will get extremely harder. That one day I have to be honest. But the people who will excel are the people who forget about everything else. What do they want me to do first? You do that. How do I get a number? Okay, I'll have to ask the user for the number. How do I know if the number is even or odd? Okay, this is the way. Okay, how do I determine if you are even or odd? I use the if statement. So if it is this, then I have to compare you with something. What am I going to compare you with? 0? Because if it is 0, it means you don't have a word. Remember that. So in my mind, I am manipulating everything over here for me to get a number that I can compare with what? 0. Once I can compare that, then I can use that to find what I have and what I don't have. Exactly. Anyway, when we come next week, we would solve a range of questions which deal with the if statement and different views of them to see the different ways we can solve them. But before we come, as I said, I will give you guys the questions to try in your own free time when you're in the house. When we come, then we'll do it together, like how we did today. Is that okay? Any questions before we go away? Also, because of our live students, the class is recorded. So just like I did last week, I would send you the recorded class somewhere. Tomorrow I'm traveling, so maybe Monday or something. I should send everything in your group by then. We all okay? All right.
Yes.
Then we'll meet again next week. Those online, thank you for coming. We'll meet again next week. Okay? Yeah. Okay, sure, no problem.